On today's show, teams made moves. Some teams got better than Dallas. Which ones? We'll tell you on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
We have cracked.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Amazing.
Your team every day.
Still can't eat milk.
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. Best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day on any podcast platform. Apple, Spotify, CastBox, Boxcast, Pocket Cast, YouTube Music, any of that. Leave a 5-star review, like the video on YouTube, and comment anything below. Let me know which teams made better moves than the Mavericks or which teams got worse. Curious what you guys think about that. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to, but this summer FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And joining me from the Great Slightly Biased YouTube channel, he found something else to do better with his time than watch the Mavs Summer League. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
I was leading the Mean Green UNT to glory in the new NCAA.
There you go. That was a better use of your time. I scheduled a doctor's appointment. That was a better. Nice. That was a better use of my time. Oh my gosh.
We will not even playing.
We will Edie. Better use of his time to not,
yeah, seriously.
to hang out there. But yeah, we will not talk much about the Mavs Summer League game. We'll maybe touch on it at the end, but they almost had 30 turnovers. They looked terrible. There's not a ton to take from that game. We'll resume when there's something to take home from some of these games. So today we'll get into which teams made moves around the NBA that affect Dallas the most, that impact the Mavericks the most. And we each picked 3. We didn't tell each other what they are. And so we're going to start with them. And I'm going to start with the team I think affected Dallas the most with their moves. And I'm interested to see if we have any crossovers. I'm sure this one we both have the same. I think what the Oklahoma City Thunder did in getting Caruso and Hartenstein affects Dallas a ton, because that team went 6 games. The Mavs found a way to beat them. But now all of a sudden the Mavericks have... Okay, we got to talk about Clay guarding SGA now. It's something we got to maybe talk about, especially if you saw the video of Clay playing pickup with those guys. Is
it true that he had 45 points in that? I never care about those videos.
How long did he play? But we do have to talk about that, and then we have to talk about OKC has size now, and they have like a demon backcourt, to borrow your phrase, like a demon backcourt of Lou Dort and Alex Caruso. They were already one of the top teams in deflections and steals and all that kind of stuff. Now they bring in Alex Caruso, who can do that, who can hit a 3 viably. And honestly, like, losing Giddey for them is kind of good for them, because nobody had to guard him, and that was a way the Mavericks really went in and tried to defend the Thunder. So to me, I think that of all the teams, the Thunder made the moves that affect Dallas the most, because I think they leapfrogged them a little bit.
Yeah, I think the Thunder had the best offseason in the NBA, because they got much better and they addressed their areas of weakness without giving up really anything. They gave up Giddey, who they were going to give up anyways. And I guess maybe you can make the argument that they sold kind of low on Giddey, which they got a great role player in return. But there was a time last year where Giddey was like the headline of these big star level packages that we were kind of
they had hopes.
Up. Yeah, right. There were hopes there. So,
yeah.
But I mean, they definitely got better. They addressed their big area of weakness, getting a big. I still think Hartenstein by the end of it will be starting, or he'll be closing games at least. They paid him $30 million
with Chet or without.
With Chet, I think those two could definitely coexist alongside one another, and it could work. I mean, defensively, that their closing 5 is going to be absolutely disgusting. Like it's going to be so incredibly good. Hartenstein was a sneaky, end of ballot defensive player of the year level guy this year. I don't know if he got any votes, but that's just how good he was. Chet's obviously an incredible defender. And then Caruso, Shea, J-Dub are all great defenders in their own right too. Like J-Dub's the weakest defender there. Or I guess Shea probably is. But if Shea's your weakest defender in your 5-man closing lineup, like that's
yuck.
Pretty good.
To me, that this is the team that made the most moves. And like Hartenstein, so just sticking on him for a second. They bring him in, like you said. I think he could probably play with Chet, and they'll probably play him without. But at least you have now 48 minutes of a center that can do stuff like that. And I think Hartenstein can be a glue guy for them. It did feel like they missed some kind of glue guy. They've got these pieces that can do all these different things. They've got the stars and SGA and J-Dub, and then they've got Chet who can do a bunch of stuff. It's like just need like one connective tissue guy. And then they got two in Caruso and Hartenstein. They can both do a bunch of things like that. I mean, just really good offseason for them. They end up getting some guys in the draft too that I don't think will affect them very much, but Topic, Flagler, like they get Dylan Jones, the big guard. Like they get a couple of guys there too. I don't think those moves affect the Mavs. But what do you think about the Klay Thompson has to guard SGA now thing? Because I don't know. I know you spent a long time away from Twitter this offseason, and that was probably really good for your mental health. But if you're a Mavs fan that's been on Twitter, there are all these accounts. And if you're not on Twitter, great for your mental health too. Great choice by you. There are all these accounts that have like Thunder in their bio, Thunder in their display name. It's like their profile picture is some Thunder player or something, or it's Westbrook from when he was on the Thunder. And they all are just saying, oh, Klay guarding SGA now. That's food. That's food for SGA now. And so I'm curious what you think about that move now, going from Derrick Jones Jr. to Klay, at least in the starting lineup, which has been confirmed now by Shams, guarding SGA then.
Well, that's that. Of course, they're thinking that because that's who they have to beat now. They've been stewing on it for months. Like the Mavs moved on, obviously played 2 more series. The Thunder fans have been stewing on it forever, and I have noticed it on Twitter. They cannot wait to get their crack at the Mavericks again.
They can't all live in OKC, right? Like there's no way they all live in OKC.
Dude, I know several people in the DFW Metroplex who have no ties to Oklahoma City whatsoever, but are huge Thunder fans because they loved they loved Russ and KD. They loved that era.
Fair.
But and there's always those people who want to be contrarians. They're like, all my friends are Mavs fans. Like, ugh, I want to be a Thunder fan. But
it's like all the people that are not Cowboys fans here.
Like, do we not remember that Shea went off in that series?
This was going to be my point on this. SGA already had a really good series. He was the only one that they could get going. Like Derrick Jones Jr. really didn't bother him that much. He got the shots that he wanted, got to his spots that he wanted, and the Mavericks said, all right, go one-on-one and go ahead and get your contested mid-range shots and go ahead and hit a bunch of really tough shots. Like SGA was great in that series, did a bunch of good stuff. Like I don't know what the reason why that he couldn't do more is he's not the crazy 10 assist playmaker type guy. He's not going to create a bunch of shots for others. And when you play that one-on-one style that the Mavs saw against Luka and Kyrie the whole playoffs at different times, you've got to be able to not only just attack and get your own, but you got to create for others to create opportunities and advantages for them too by bending the defense to your will instead of just bending a shot to your will and to the rim. And so I think that's a little bit of a difference there. And honestly, that's the difference between SGA and a Luka is that he can do those extra things, and SGA is just really freaking good at the one thing that he's really good at. And so, but I do think that Klay guarding SGA's, it's a little bit of a downgrade, but we'll see how Najee Marshall does. We'll see how Quentin Grimes does. Yeah. I think that those guys will step in and do some stuff. If the Mavs need to bring in those guys, they can. And it's not like the Mavs lost lineup options. The Thunder gained some lineup options, but the Mavericks didn't lose any, I don't think.
No, and the Thunder, I think they are the best team in the West currently, just in terms of how the roster is constructed. I'm pretty sure they're the betting favorites to win the West right now too, but it's not like they're a perfect team and without flaw. Like they still need, and we saw this in the playoffs and especially in the series against the Mavs, they still need J-Dub or Chet, really those two, to step up and turn into that, all right, I got you for 20 plus, 25 points a game in these big playoff games. Like I'm with you, Shea. Let's do this. Because it was pretty much all Shea against the Mavericks. J-Dub was not really there, and Chet slammed into a rookie wall halfway through last season, offensively at least, and that carried into the playoffs. So they still need one of those guys to take a step forward, at least in the playoffs. And if they do, they're going to be really scary. But if not, then it's going to be kind of similar, where they're going to be good defensively. They'll be better rebounding the basketball, right? Yes. With Hartenstein there. But they'll still struggle, I think, to generate offense outside of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which was really the big problem against the Mavericks.
Yeah, one of the things I said when the Giddey trade happened was that, man, they are really asking a lot of SGA and Jalen. If they don't make another move and add another offensive guy, they're really asking a lot of SGA and Jalen Williams to really create a lot of offense, not just for themselves, but for others. And maybe Chet takes a huge jump in that area too. He becomes a 25 point per game scorer, and we're like, oh, okay. That's where they got the offense from. That's where it's coming. But it's still only 3 guys. It's kind of the same problem the Mavericks had, last couple of years. Yeah. That who else creates offense? At least with Giddey during the regular season, they had that guy that could create the transition opportunities, create a little bit in the half court, and do some of that kind of stuff. They don't have that option anymore. They're not getting that with Hartenstein. They're not getting that with Caruso or any of their rookies. Maybe Casey Wallace takes a step forward too. But
I mean, J-Dub's a good playmaker too, but he's not
for sure.
They needed his scoring more than anything else in that series.
Yeah. So I think OKC made the moves that affected Dallas the most. Who else made moves that affected Dallas the most? I think the next one we may both have is the Denver Nuggets. We'll talk about that.
Am I up?
Coming up.
You don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and for Slightly Biased specifically, patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle, level it up to peak performance, superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights. They have all those things and more because they have over 122 million different parts to choose from. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, they have you covered. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, you know that your part is going to be guaranteed to fit your car every time, or to get your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. Go check out eBay Motors with all the parts you need, the prices you want. It's easy to make your car the MVP. Bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, being part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day, being an everydayer of the show. Appreciate each and every one of you checking out the show. We'll be daily all throughout the offseason, talking all about the Mavs moves, talking about the things that the Mavericks did. We'll talk about Summer League when it matters. We'll talk about the Mavs going into next season. Absolutely, your finals appearing Dallas Maverick. Let's go.
That's right, baby.
We're talking about the teams that made moves around the Mavericks that affect the Mavericks the most. The Thunder is the team we started to talk about first. Give me your next team that made moves that affect the Mavericks the most.
Well, you teased them out. The Denver Nuggets were actually going to be my number 1 team. But
all right. Okay, I'm in.
Because the Thunder, obviously, now that we talked about it, made the moves that I think shift the balance of power in the West maybe more than any other moves. But the Nuggets very quietly here, and I guess not necessarily so quietly, but since they've won their championship, have gotten worse just as a roster. They have gotten worse, and it has now reached a critical point with KCP gone. And, Bruce Brown leaving was a big deal, but Bruce Brown wasn't in their starting 5, and they felt like they could maybe figure out how to plug in his minutes and his role off the bench. KCP was in their starting 5, which was the best starting 5 in basketball. It's been the best starting 5 in basketball since it's been assembled, and they lose him. They replace him with nothing, really. And now I'm guessing penciling in Christian Brown into the starting 5. That's what it sounds like.
They are.
And their bench is like genuinely one of the worst in basketball, including any team, any rebuilding team, all of them. Their depth will be tested this year. And you look at Jamal Murray. That's not a guy who's been healthy for huge chunks of his career. Michael Porter Jr. obviously is not a guy who's been healthy for huge chunks of his career. If they deal with any significant injuries to some serious guys, and knock on, you never want that to happen, but it's part of the sport. It happens. Man, I'm just looking at their bench right now.
Their bench is so bad. Every time I look at their bench, they're expecting Christian Brown to jump into that starting 5. And listening to Adam Mares and Locked On Nuggets and those guys, I don't think I'm kind of with them. I don't think there will be a big drop off with their starting unit. But then anytime any of those guys sit, the starting 5 will still be very good, still be one of the best in basketball and all that. And we'll be like, oh, they don't miss KCP. But as soon as any of those guys sit, or like you said, as soon as any of them miss any significant amount of time, it's, you got Dario Saric, which is a nice piece that they picked up. I think that's pretty
a good
good
move. I like that.
He's going to be all right. Strother and Watson have been all right at times, but you don't really know what you can get from them. Zeke Naji, them giving him that contract has kind of really hurt them now because they don't really have flexibility to get anybody else. And he hasn't really lived up to even the $9 million he's going to make this season. He hasn't really lived up to it. They get our boy Chanchar back. Maybe he helps them a little bit. You got DeAndre Jordan. Deron Holmes, their rookie that they were excited about, tore his Achilles, and so he's going to be out. I mean, they are really like struggling to find anything going right now, and it's all unproven. Like unproven, not just on their teams. Like we're looking at like the Mavericks right now. The Mavericks problem is like Klay Thompson is an unproven commodity in our lineup, and you're like, okay. The Nuggets bench is looking at, we have unproven commodities in the NBA. Like, can they be NBA players? Wild question to be asking.
And we're not saying that they're going to win, 35 games or something. They'll be a playoff team, of course. They'll be fighting for a top seed. But when it gets to that postseason in the 16 games where, yes, the rotations do shrink. So you're not looking for 10 or 11 guys who can play. But those 6th, 7th, 8th guys are very, very important and 100% will swing games for you in big moments. And if it's Hunter Tyson or Julian Strawther, or you're really hoping for some of these guys
to
be
real
like,
players.
all right, we're really like, imagine the Mavericks' entire bench, just to give this back to the Mavericks, were like slightly better versions of Omax Prospers. Like that's kind of what, where it's like, well, we're really banking on this guy's shot has to dramatically improve, or this guy has to get better on defense, or this guy has to get better with his decision making, or else. They're just not really ready to be top 8 guys in a contending team's rotation.
That's wild. That's a very good point. That like the Julian Strawther and Omax Prosper, like if they were put in different situations where Omax had to be playing like 15 minutes a night on the Mavs, he would have moments where we would go, "Oh man, look at that!" Like, and then we'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they're relying on Omax to run their or to be in their second unit." Yeah, so that team is struggling, and I mean, not to mention that I guess they have Zeke Naji, but DeAndre Jordan is their backup center to Jokic. Like,
well, Saric would probably be getting most of those.
I guess getting some 5 run. Gordon gets a lot of backup 5 run for them. They're just stretching. They're just stretching their lineup really thin. They also have no shot creation outside of Jokic and Jamal Murray, kind of Michael Porter Jr. Like that's kind of it, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, it's crazy because I remember after they won a couple years ago, there was that, I guess technically last year at this point, calendar year, but it's like there were people who were talking like the Nuggets could be building towards this several year run here. And now you're looking at the roster and it's like, oh, they're in some jeopardy unless some of these young guys really, really turn it on, which is possible. But I definitely think losing KCP for nothing hurts. And I've had Nuggets fans in my chat and on Twitter who are coping pretty hard. No, man, that one hurts. Like, that hurts.
Yeah, he was very good. He was very, very good. They lose Bruce Brown. They lose KCP for basically nothing both years, and you haven't replaced him. It's a tough one.
And
so I think
fair, I thought they would replace Bruce Brown. Just I'm shocked that they couldn't figure out a way to just replace him internally, but they couldn't.
Yeah, no, Christian Brown stepped up a little, and so he's maybe the one that has, but you also didn't replace him. So
yeah,
the big question:
he's better than Bruce Brown.
I agree with you. Coming up, let's talk about the other teams that made moves that affected the Dallas Mavericks. I've got one that is a tough one because it's a give and take. It's a give and take. The Mavs got better. They also got worse a little bit. We'll talk about that and more coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds that you can use to get in on the action. Talk about sports, bet on sports, put money down on sports. FanDuel.com. They have all kind of bonus boosts, daily things like that. Go check it out. They have Summer League odds that you can do. They've got MLB, the All-Star Game. It's in Arlington. It's in the Texas Rangers' home. You've got the National League is the 1.5 point favorite. I don't know if I can name a single player that's in the National League playing. Shohei Ohtani on there. He's the favorite for the All-Star Game MVP plus 800. So you can bet on that. All kinds of other stuff. You can bet on the MLB All-Star Game. They have NBA props for the season odds, stuff like that. NFL stuff coming up as that kicks up. We have a SEC Media Day here in Dallas, and so you can do all kinds of college stuff too. Go check it out, FanDuel.com. Again, FanDuel.com to see what's available for you.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Slightly. We're talking about the teams that made moves that impacted the Mavericks the most. The Thunder, absolutely getting Caruso and getting Hardenstein affect the Mavericks. Losing Giddey, I think, is helpful for them in ways, and then brings up questions for them. The Nuggets losing KCP and not really replacing him is huge. I think also a small thing to that, if I can add one more, is the Mavs adding Clay and adding 3-point shooting, like widens the gap between those two teams and the amount of 3-point shooting, like the difference between that. And if the Mavs can hit a bunch of threes against the Nuggets, then that helps them win that game because the Nuggets are not going to hit a bunch of threes next year. I mean, who's replacing KCP? And it's tough. That's a tough one for Denver.
Jokic is about to bomb threes.
He probably should. My next one, the Los Angeles Clippers.
Yeah.
Paul George leaving is a big one. They get Derrick Jones Jr., so that affects the Mavericks. It's a give and take in this one. But I think Paul George leaving the Clippers takes them out of like fringe contention because don't forget, this Clippers team last season had a run where we looked at them and went, "Is this the best team in the NBA?"
Yeah. Yeah, no, that stretch they had was, I think, the best a team looked all season long, including any of the Celtics play. Like, that's how good they were for that tiny stretch. But again, it was a tiny stretch. And yeah, like you said,
2 months.
Yeah, it was 2 months. That's not insignificant, but it was just at the wrong time for them. But yeah, I mean, losing Paul George definitely lowers their ceiling. I mean, Derrick Jones Jr. is a really great role player. We know that firsthand. Like, Nick Batum's back. He's a great role player, and he's been really good for them. But yeah, I mean, Kawhi's already hurt. They took him off the Team USA roster. What's going on with that? I don't know, because it sounded like they were like, yeah, he's hurt. But then it came out today that he wasn't hurt. So did they just cut him?
Team USA released a statement that was like, Team USA as well as the the Clippers are pulling him, and the Clippers were like, hey guys, we didn't do that. We wanted him to play.
Just a heads up, Ty Lue is an assistant coach on Team USA to add some to stir the pot just a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, yeah, there you go. I don't fully know what they're doing, to be honest with you, because not bringing back Paul George just makes me scratch my head, because it's just, you're already committed to this. Like, you're already committed to it. Like, why not just do it? Why not throw him the contract he wants? And it's Paul George. Like, even if it doesn't work out this year, there's still going to be a team out there in the summer next year who's desperate enough to trade for him. Like, if the Sixers didn't land him and they lose in the second round again this year, they would have traded for Embiid next year. That's how Daryl Morey operates. Like, I don't really understand what they're doing. And yeah, they'll if Kawhi's healthy and stuff and Harden, they'll still be good. They'll still be fighting for, they'll be in that 5 to 9, 10 range more than likely. But yeah, that's a team that you usually consider a contender or right on fringe contention status is probably out of it in the Western Conference.
They're also probably going to lose Westbrook, which can't be overlooked. I know he just tried to tackle Luka a bunch in the Mavs series, but he did do some good stuff for them during the regular season. And
Kevin Porter Jr., come on down.
I mean, he is, and Josh Primo, and like I don't know what they're doing over there with the Clippers, but that can't be good for locker room. I mean, can that be good for a locker room?
I really don't think these athletes care. I have to be honest. I know we all want to get on our. I know. These guys don't care, I don't think, in any real significant way.
They might not. Kevin Porter Jr. that has had issues in a bunch of places he's been, so I don't know.
That is true, actually.
But yeah, I mean, it's Norman Powell still, Terrence Mann, you bring in Kevin Porter Jr., James Harden, Derrick Jones Jr., Kawhi Leonard, Nick Batum, Amir Coffey,
weird.
Zubats.
What is he doing there?
Mo Bamba. I mean, he's going to start, and he's going to have a role. Apparently, that was the thing he said today.
Best of luck to him.
Oh, that was so sad. Slightly, that was so sad. Like the tone and the tenor of your voice.
It is sad. I mean, I'm gonna miss him. I really didn't think he would leave.
Zeke Naji's gonna dive on the floor and he's gonna grab a loose ball and he's gonna chuck a half court pass to Lively for a dunk, and you're gonna be over that. I think.
Najee Marshall.
Who did I say?
You said Zeke Naji. I was like, wait, did I miss something?
I'm not playing. I'm watching, just like you guys.
I was like, oh, was there breaking news I missed? But yes, that is true. I'm excited for Najee Marshall.
The knife.
Can I throw a surprise team at you?
I meant the knife. Yes. I can't believe I just said Zeke Naji.
The Spurs.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Left field. You're high on these moves.
Because I do love their offseason. I don't think they're going to be good this year. They might fight for the play-in tournament depending on how good Wemby looks. But they are in the Mavs division, and they got better. Like they did. They got better. If you can pencil in a Wemby top 10 leap, which is very, very – I would bet that happens more than I would say it wouldn't happen.
The same way Luka did year 1 to year 2.
Yep, exactly. Man, that's crazy. That just happened. Like that's the leap Luka. Luka was all NBA first team year 2, and it was like not really up for debate.
Isaac and I on this show many times that season were like, why is he not being talked about as most improved? He went from literally like good player, fringe all-star to like first team all NBA. There's no other leap that's bigger than that. Why did he not win?
True.
And so we may be talking about Wemby the same way this year.
Second year guys just don't win it. And I think that's how it should
they
be.
do.
When was the last time a second year guy won it? Was Ja Morant going into year 2? Because I remember everyone was like, why did Ja Morant just win most improved? That was the biggest fraudulent one. But no, I'm looking at the roster. Devin Vassell, who I love, he has to stay healthy. He's a really good player. Chris Paul now is your point guard. So you get an adult who knows how to run an offense at the point. And Trey Jones can be the backup point guard, and he's really good. I like him a lot. Harrison Barnes, whatever. 3. Maybe Ja Morant was year 3 when he won it?
Yeah.
That was that was maybe the dumbest award of the last 25 years. Not that he didn't deserve it, but it was just like, wait, what? Why is this guy getting? He was the second overall pick. It was really good.
Not that he didn't deserve it. It's so funny. He deserved it. It's still ridiculously stupid.
It just doesn't make sense as an award.
Okay, to me, I'm with you on the Spurs. I don't think it's one. I didn't even mention it in my honorable mentions. I have a bunch of them because I was thinking about which one, but I didn't think about the long term, like the long play effect on this of like Chris Paul helping Wemby establish himself as a potential top 10 player and like setting him up to win long term and not just like this season. It's pretty good.
But also think about. I think their moves take them out of the we got the Spurs on our schedule this week.
Yeah, right.
Like it takes them out of that stratosphere where I think there will only be one of those teams. That's Portland, who are going to be absolutely atrocious.
Jazz will be pretty bad.
Well, depending on what they do with marketing, which I don't know what's going on there.
Could be worse.
They're
going to be bad now. They still don't have any guards.
Yeah, no, they're going to be bad. But if they trade marketing, please get him to the Eastern Conference somehow, please.
He's going to go back to the Clippers and we'll be like, dang it. How did they do
There's this Warriors that's like the Warriors smoke with them is really real.
Yeah, they got a couple picks that they have. They got some young guys.
I guess Hardenstein takes the Thunder out. I mean, I'm still, if I'm the Thunder, there's no way he's not on my team.
What'd you give up for him?
Picks. I don't care. We'll make it happen.
I was gonna say they just don't have this. The problem with them is the salaries. You send Lou Dort,
and whatever else. Let's make it happen.
Oh, Luge. Goodbye, Luge.
That would make them very scary to me.
Isaiah Joe making $12.9 million all of a sudden now. Can they?
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Didn't they just re-sign him? I guess they have to wait for him.
You know, speaking of the Mavs and Klay Thompson, even though we weren't talking about them at all, but this is a Mavericks podcast.
Correct.
The Warriors did some interesting things.
In what
Were
way?
they on your honorable mention?
Warriors was my first honorable mention. Klay leaving to Dallas was a good one. That affected the Mavericks the most.
I look at the roster, and I think in some ways they got maybe better.
Interesting. Make the case.
I think the Anthony Melton's pretty good, but he missed pretty much all of last season. I don't think anyone they got is better than Klay necessarily, but they did get 3, I think, pretty solid rotation guys this offseason in Melton, Buddy Hield, and Kyle Anderson. And I don't know how much more improving like Podziemski or Trace Jackson Davis could do, but if you pencil in like a leap from either of those two or just those two getting better just from being year 2 in the NBA, they'll be solid. I don't think that I think that their days contending are probably done. I think that window is just over.
Yeah. Well, to me, they're like the Clippers and them are kind of Clippers, them and Lakers are kind of all on the same level where you're like, all right, they didn't do a lot. They've still got some really great players where you're like, man, we got to play this team tonight. We got to deal with LeBron and AD. We got to deal with Steph and Draymond. We got to deal with Kawhi and Harden. It's like, okay, it's going to be tough, but come playoff time, they've got huge holes.
Yeah. Agreed. No, for sure. I think they're just a sneaky, like, they lose Klay, and I think a lot of people are just going to write them off entirely, but I think they're still a pretty solid team.
Yeah, you can't play the Klay was really bad last year, and the Warriors will stink now that he's gone. I feel like some people try to play both of those cards.
What are some of your other honorable mentions?
Honorable mention: DeJounte Murray to the Pelicans. It's an interesting one. They still don't have it. They still don't have a center, so I didn't know what to do.
Right,
with
they got more moves to make. I think.
DeRozan to the Kings moves you 0%.
That doesn't do much. The Kings fans, after we did our stream, I did some more research. Kings fans are really excited, and I'm happy for them.
They're very excited. I told you that Locked On Kings made the same case that I made about Clay. Like the Mavs finally got a free agent over the Lakers. They made the same case. Memphis, not a move, but Ja Morant's return. It's going to affect the Mavs a lot. They'll be better. They'll be back. Their summer league team apparently has half their bench on it. So
yeah, I mean that is crazy. I mean I saw people saying that, and like I was texting a Mavs fan, a friend of mine who is a Mavs fan. He was like, "This is so stupid." Like all of the players on the Grizzlies team were NBA rotation players. I'm like, well, that's because they were terrible last year. It's like the roster died. None of these guys are like actual, or should have been real actual. Like Trey Jemison shouldn't have been a real actual NBA rotation player, but he was last year.
Yeah, right. But like the Gigi Jackson, Jake LaRavia, Zach Edey didn't play, but
even Scottie Pippen towards the end of last year was playing quite a bit.
Yeah, Scottie Pippen was good on a 2-way.
Well, can I say something about the Lakers?
Yeah, I put Suns, Lakers, and the Timberwolves basically did nothing or stayed the same.
Yeah, well, the Timberwolves made a move for their future.
Okay, but it doesn't.
And they lost. They lost. I mean, losing Kyle Anderson's not nothing. He was in their rotation, but I'm looking at the Lakers roster. I think they're better than the Clippers and Warriors pretty soundly, in my opinion. Like I think they're out of that group.
Sure,
because you do have LeBron and AD, but Bronny, Bronny, make your rookie of the year bets now. Oh man, God bless the kid.
Let me check the FanDuel. Hold on, let me check the FanDuel numbers real quick. Worry.
He shouldn't even be. If you're betting on that, please call the hotline. I'm being dead serious.
There's a Bronny James tab.
A whole tab.
First made field goal in a 2024-25 regular season game to be assisted by LeBron James, plus 300.
No, look at their end of the bench guys. That's going to be Jalen Hood-Schifino in a 35-point blowout.
Our old pal Woody. Christian Wood.
Christian Wood. Oh, is he on? Oh yeah, he did pick up his option.
He picked up his option.
Their roster is kind of hilarious. I mean, they didn't make any moves, but they're still like, I can squint and see like, the Lakers are in Game 7 in the second round. And the walking walking trade exception, human trade exception, D'Angelo Russell is still there.
Betting odds a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you want Bronny James to win Rookie of the Year on FanDuel?
It should be plus 500,000, but I'm gonna guess it's plus 1,000.
30,000.
Okay. All right. I mean that's high.
That's very high. It's the lowest one they have, but still just seeing plus 30,000.
Who's the favorite for that?
You bet what? You bet $100 and you win 30,000 if you.
Yep. That could be that actually. It's funny because I just said if you bet on that, you need to call the hotline. But I'm just now in my mind thinking, all right, but what if Bronny somehow becomes like the seventh man? He'll have all of the narratives. Is Edey the favorite?
I was gonna say Edey's the favorite. Reed Shepherd, okay. Alexander Sarr, Reese Shea, Buzelis, Connect is plus 1,000. Castle for the Spurs plus 1,000. It's not like there's a name that really stands out that you're like, oh, he's going against Wemby.
Well, before Summer League started, I think I would have bet on Edey just because I think he'll have a big role on a team trying to win. But oh my God, Reed Shepherd. Ooh.
Don't get sucked in.
I am. I'm sucked. Are the Rockets one of these teams? Are the Rockets one of these teams that are good?
No, we can't move on. No, we cannot move on from this.
Why?
Say your thing about the Rockets.
I never recovered beer.
I feel like they just have too many guys now that I'm looking at the roster. Usually that might not sound like a good thing, but it's just kind of a lot of players.
Especially young guys, like a lot of young guys. Where you go, all right. All these guys think they're going to get time. Cam Whitmore, Tari Eason.
Like on their depth chart on ESPN, which isn't the best, they have Cam Whitmore in the third string. Yeah.
Yes.
Like that's not going to happen.
A lot of dudes. Also, Reed Shepherd, their fifth highest paid guy.
That's insane.
Isn't that wild?
Wow, because he was a third overall pick.
Yeah, he's making $10 million.
That's just a rookie scale.
He's making $2 million. Really good. He's making $2 million less than Jalen Green, and more than Jabari Smith.
That's actually how is he making more than Jabari?
The cap went
Did
up.
They just go, okay, yeah. Interesting.
Cap went up.
Interesting.
There you go, guys. Let us know what moves teams made that made them better than the Mavericks, that affect the Mavericks the most. Check out Slightly Biased on the Slightly. The what? You gotta say that. You gotta say the thing.
Well, I don't know what thing.
One more thing.
Demon Home.
One more thing.
But one more thing.
Yeah.
Are we not going to talk about the summer league game at all?
No.
All right.
They had 27 turnovers. I'm not talking about that game.
Dude.
They couldn't dribble. The team could not dribble against the Grizzlies. Omax had a nice run in the second half. He had a nice little run. He had some moves in the basket. He had some good defensive plays. Good for Omax. That's all I've got. I cannot be bothered.
It made me question my love for the sport.
That was a rough watch.
That one was hard. Usually I'm a summer league defender, but that one was tough.
That was bad. And so instead, we talked about the Houston Rockets salary cap sheet. That's what we talked about instead.
And other stuff.
There you go. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. Listen to the show. Go check out Slightly Biased on the Slightly Biased YouTube channel. We'll be back tomorrow. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom!